Everybody, welcome back to Drug Talk. As always, I'm your host, Garrett Campbell. So recently in the comments section of some of my videos, people have asked me to talk more about mental health and bipolar disorder in general and reflect on my own experience. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about what mania or a manic episode feels like. Keep in mind that during this video, while I'm talking about mania, this is all just my personal experience and it's not really from the literature, so I may say some things that you may read differently about when I'm talking about mania. So when I think of mania in general, I really consider it to be kind of a state of mind where thoughts come into your mind that are not regular thoughts that you would usually have, but you perceive them to be your own thoughts and you live life according to these thoughts. Also, with mania, this is not a switch that is flipped on or off. You don't go from being in a normal state to fully manic and in psychosis. It's usually a progression that lasts about weeks to really get from a normal state to psychosis. Over time, after having 5 manic episodes now myself and being treated in hospital 5 times, I've kind of noticed these things that change about myself in the early stages. So I've kind of gotten to the point where I can pick up on the fact that I might be going down that path towards mania earlier now and be able to stop it from ever occurring. So when things get started, again in the early stages, before my family or anybody else, my friends, would notice anything, it really just starts off with overall optimism towards life. When the alarm clock goes off in the morning, you jump right out of bed, you're ready to go, you're setting goals, you're excited to get things done throughout the day, and you don't procrastinate on things. If something comes up that you have to get done, you really go after it and get it done. Typically when I'm in these early stages, I will develop a new goal. So if I'm going through life and I have certain goals on my mind that I want to achieve, typically in the early stages moving towards mania, I would create a new goal. And this for me in particular, typically would be somewhere along the lines of business oriented. So I may think of maybe starting another YouTube channel or writing a book or something along those lines, something that I can seem to profit from in the future. Now over this 1 or 2 week period while I'm feeling very optimistic, typically each day my energy level would get higher and higher. I may wake up earlier, even before my alarm clock, and get out of bed, feeling more optimistic each day. In the second stage on the path towards mania, all of these ideas that I've been thinking about or goals that I've developed, in the second stage, I find that I start to share that with friends and family. So again, sometimes depending on what the idea or the goal is, if it seems a little bit out there or grandiose, this would be a good time where friends and family can really pick up on things and see the warning signs and kind of speak openly to me and tell me that they think that things might be going on the path towards mania. Unfortunately, in this state, when the family does say things like that to me, I get a little bit aggressive, annoyed with them, because again, I'm feeling so optimistic and I'm so sure about these thoughts that I've been having, and I believe in them, and I don't want anybody to try to take these things away from me that I've put so much energy into thinking about. So the best possible scenario in these early stages would be for me to cooperate with my friends and family, acknowledge that what they say is true, and seek treatment from a physician. However, sometimes if you're gone too far along the path towards mania, you don't really want to acknowledge their concerns and you want to avoid going to a physician because you know from previous episodes that the medication will make you feel lower in terms of energy and less goal-oriented, and you won't achieve these goals that you've set. So if there's no intervention at this stage, typically you would begin to require less sleep, and so this is again moving into, we'll say, stage 3. You'll begin to sleep less. Again, getting up earlier in the morning, going to bed later, staying up late to work on some of those goals that you may have set, and really just starting to live an unhealthy lifestyle, especially in terms of sleep. Now for me in the past, during this stage of high energy, high goal orientation, I would start to develop a craving for cannabis, and then I would buy cannabis and use it, and that would push me into the next stages, moving further towards psychosis. So I will say at this point in the video that ever since I've abstained from cannabis, I haven't had a manic episode. So that may be a thing for me in the future, that as long as I stay away from that substance, then maybe I can go years without being in the hospital and being hospitalized with mania. But I just want to make that note here. That is something that I noticed with myself. So now here in stage 4, when I start smoking cannabis, I really get, my energy level just goes through the roof. There's no need for sleep. I will go 3 or 4 days without any sleep. And I will begin to kind of hide my behavior from my friends and family. So remember in stage 2, I said I would start to tell everybody my thoughts, my feelings, what I'm going through, what my goals are. In this stage, after having other manic episodes and having similar feelings to those in the past, I would now hide my behavior intentionally from my friends and family, knowing that if they see the way I'm acting, they will do what they have to do to get me to the hospital for treatment. So really, for all intents and purposes, an intervention has to happen before getting to this point. Once you get to the point where you're intentionally not sleeping to push towards achieving goals, you've really gone too far, and nothing a friend or family can say to you is going to convince you that it's time to get treatment. You're already hypomanic or manic at this stage. So some things that I've done during this stage in the past was over the course of a week or so, I've written a 200-page book, which I will actually release in the future, just talking about my experience with bipolar. But I wrote that again in about a week during kind of a hypomanic, manic state. Actually, funny enough, starting this YouTube channel was an idea that I came up with in a hypomanic state. I thought the idea was good enough to continue with it, so here we are today. One thing I mentioned in another video, I actually went into a car dealership and purchased a car. My mindset during, again, I was hypomanic or manic at the time. My mindset was because of all these ideas that I had for business endeavors, they would bring in so much money in the future that I could afford to just go buy a car at that time, knowing that the money would come after. Now, at this stage, for myself personally, again, in the past, I would start smoking more cannabis. It would be kind of a cascade effect. The more manic I would become, the more cannabis I would smoke, and then I would become even more manic because of that, and then push into psychosis. Now, when you get into this stage, things, for all intents and purposes, again, are very scary and unhealthy. So now moving into psychosis, things would start to happen, like I would turn on the TV, see commercials, and think that those commercials were specifically designed for me, that the whole world was starting to kind of seem like it was all designed for me and that I was the center of everything. Now, again, like I said, this is a scary thought because you can, if you have these thoughts and you believe them to be true, you can act on them and do some pretty scary things. But really, just feeling like, honestly, that you're the center of the universe. And then, you, again, from the past, I would smoke more cannabis and push to the point where you start to have this religion, and I'm not a religious person, you start to have this religious aspect to the mania, to the psychosis. And actually, I got to the point during 2 manic episodes where I actually thought that I was God. I thought that I was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. And again, I'm not a religious person, but it cascades and it pushes higher and higher and higher, and the thoughts that you have get more and more intense and more unrealistic, more grandiose. Now, at this stage, there are some things that I've done in the past where police actually had to be involved. Nothing happened in terms of like resisting like arrest or anything. I was never under arrest or anything like that, but people were concerned for my behavior. I'd rather not share everything that I've done at this time in this video, but it is all in the book that I wrote. So when the time comes, when I feel like it's time to release that book, it will all be in there. But the main takeaway point here is that any thought that you can really think of is a possibility with mania and psychosis. Again, thinking that you're God, thinking you're the center of the universe. I experienced the Truman Syndrome, where I thought everybody on Earth was an actor, just here to watch me live my life. I thought my sister, my brother, my father were all actors, and they were just watching me to make sure that I didn't discover the truth. It's really intense, and it's really interesting now thinking back on it, just how wild your thoughts can get. Just to share one intense thing that I've done during the peak of mania and psychosis. So I did mention that at one point I thought I was God. It kind of moved onward to thinking that I was the creator of the universe. And I actually, for some reason, stared into the sun for about 5-10 seconds and actually gave myself permanent eye damage in my left eye. So now I kind of see a little dot when I focus on things, especially when I'm reading. So things like that, again, like I said, it can be very scary and it can cause damage to you. That's physical damage that I'll now have for the rest of my life. So these things do become serious, and that's why early on in the progression towards mania, if your family and friends come to you and say to you, I'm concerned that you're moving down that road, you really do have to take it seriously and seek treatment as soon as possible. So in my last 2 manic episodes, when I got to that really high point, my brother actually came and said that he wanted to take me to the hospital, and I went voluntarily with him. However, during my first, second, and third manic episodes, my family did have to call the police. Once they came, I cooperated fully, but there was no convincing. Like, they couldn't convince me to go get treatment because I thought that I was right in what I was doing and that they were just trying to stop me, again, from achieving these goals that came into my mind during the mania. That's all I really have to say in this video, just kind of talking about what a manic episode feels like. The next video I make will probably be what depression feels like, just to kind of have the counterbalance to this video. And I will start a mental health playlist. So if you guys enjoy these types of videos, just give it a like. Feel free to share this video or leave a comment down below on any ideas you'd like me to discuss. I am still going to keep making drug videos, obviously. I'm just taking a little break as we got to video number 400. And I just want to spice things up a little bit moving into the summer months. And again, I just want to say that I really enjoy making these videos to connect with you guys more, just to show that I'm not just a pharmacist talking about medication, but medication are a part of my life and illness is a part of my life. Just kind of show you that we all do have our struggles. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.